If you guys want some gamer subs, make sure to use code GM for 10% off, and while you're at it, come check me out over at twitch.tv/gminers. Thanks. Yo, what's going on guys? It's Gminers here. The build we have today combines the best aspects of both the Solar and the Void 3.0 subclasses, which allows us to be Radiant and Invisible infinitely. The build makes Master Lost Sectors and Nightfalls way easier because you can mob through enemies, but then also stay invis when you need to revive someone or just hide. This will 100% be one of the first builds I take into GMs when those are available later in the season. You can see here that every single melee kill we get procs our invis, gives us our melee straight back, and then we also get Radiant from this. We are also going to be able to combine this with Classy Contender for ×2 restoration to make our survivability even better. So without any further ado, let's go over what you will need to have on the Solar 3.0 subclass. For your super, I'm sure most people are aware, but Blade Barrage is currently one of the highest DPS options. Even without Star Eaters, it hits like a truck and is super easy to use compared to Golden Gun. I have on Gambler's Dodge so that I can get my melee back by dodging near an enemy. Marksman Dodge is going to be useless because we are already going to have max reload speed at almost all times, and Acrobat's Dodge also isn't going to be needed because our melee will be able to keep us and our teammates radiant. After that, the only thing you need is the Fan of Knives, aka Knife Trick. This hits the hardest of the knives and is easiest to use, which makes proccing Invis and Radiant much easier, and it also means that we have a higher chance of getting our knives back. The first aspect we are running on this build is On Your Mark. Precision kills are going to give us and teammates increased weapon handling and reload speed, which stacks up to ×3. Our dodge will also just give us max stacks right away, which is the reason that I think Marksman Dodge is a bit redundant. This handling also helps a ton with weapon swapping for DPS phases or just for taking out champs when using multiple weapons to deal damage and to continue getting off stuns. Second to that is the aspect Knock 'em Down. This buffs Blade Barrage, but the main reason we have this is actually because of the final part, which fully refunds our melee ability if we get a kill with it while Radiant. The only downside I've noticed with this is that you can't spam your knives. There is a 0.5 or 1 second cooldown with this, so you have to play a bit slower with the knives, but in higher end content, you're gonna be doing this anyways. These aspects in total give us 5 fragment slots to work with. The first fragment I have on is Ember of Torches. This makes our powered melee hits make us and our teammates radiant, which means every time we throw a knife and get a kill, by default we will have the radiant buff, so every melee kill will instantly be refunded. Ember of Solace is going to increase the duration that Radiant and Restoration have. Because we reproc this as often as we do, it isn't something we need, but I found the extra time helps with longer damage phases to keep us Radiant longer. I also have Ember of Tempering on this build. Now the reason I have this is because of the extra recovery we get. It does take 10 away at base, but then we get 30 back with 3 stacks of this. The reason I think this is useful on Hunter is because we can bump up our resilience and mobility and then also have an extra 20 recovery through this. This more so comes down to how you play on Hunter and how reliant you are on your dodge, and I will probably be swapping this out with some of the new fragments when they become available. For slot number 4, we have Ember of Beams. This is going to make our knives from Blade Barrage track to targets better, so this just increases the damage we deal by hitting more knives. And then lastly, we have everyone's favorite Ember of Ashes. I feel like I use this on almost every build, but there's really no point not running this. It increases our Scorch stacks that we can apply to targets, so in turn we do more tick damage. This actually ends up clutching up for us a lot in this build because in Master content, some of the red bars won't die to the Fan of Knives, but they do die to the Scorch, and this still procs our Invis and gives us our melee back. So up until this point, even after going through the Solar 3.0 subclass, you may still be wondering where we're actually getting the invisibility from, and it's actually from a super slept on exotic, Assassin's Cowl. Low-key, this thing is ugly as all hell, but its beauty is on the inside. Okay guys? This thing makes us go invisible for every single powered melee kill, and these kills also restore some of our health and our shields. Doing this against more powerful enemies and using finishers both increases the duration of the invis and the amount of healing we get. So not only can we have infinite invis through our melee, but even if you decide to not use this build at all, just having Assassin's Cowl on gives us invis finishers, which is great for GMs and Master content alone. With this helmet, I also like to run the mod Reactive Pulse. The secondary function of this mod gives us an overshield in finishers, which helps a ton. Finishers, on average, I think, take 2.5 seconds, so this is going to help keep us alive before the invis and healing actually procs. Because this is an endgame build, not many mods that exist are going to be super helpful, but I did find that Melee Wellmaker was great for spawning elemental wells, and since we are in melee range, we can easily pick these up. And then Well of Life is another great source of healing when grabbing these elemental wells. These mods have an amazing combo with our invis because it makes it so that even if we take damage before going invis, we're gonna come out of it at full health. And then obviously the seasonal mod, Classy Contender, is going to be amazing for health regeneration on our dodge. The lost sector that I ran this in was Excavation Site on the EDZ, and it was probably the worst one in the entire game for this build. Failing shields made it super hard to get melee kills off. The room was completely open and all of the unstops would push you at the exact same time, and you are constantly getting naded, which one-shots you even when you're invis because Bungie's AI knows everything. But even with all of that, the lost sector was still easily doable. If you played around your invis and melee right, you could even go through the whole lost sector to clear out the trash ads and then deal with the champions later. On tankier enemies, you obviously won't be able to proc invis unless you do finishers, but the knives also second as a way to consistently proc radiant. So this is a great way to burn champs with an extra 25% weapon damage. This build definitely isn't one of the flashiest Solar 3.0 builds, but in my opinion, of all the builds I've made so far this season, I think this one holds up the best in the end game. I was even 25 under power for these Master Lost sectors, which is way more damage than you need to take because most people run these at like 10 under. Let me know your thoughts on the build below and what you would change, and also let me know what other Solar 3.0 builds and combos you would like to see. That's all for this video, guys. As always, have a good one. Peace.